Okay, today we're going to be looking at solving linear equations. The whole thing we need to do when we're solving linear equations is get the variable on one side by itself. Okay, a linear equation is just an equation that when we graph it on a number plane is a straight line, and we'll end up with one solution. Okay. The way we do this is look at performing opposite operations. So adding is an opposite operation to subtracting. Multiplying is opposite to division. Now when we talk about opposite, it means we get back to our starting point. So if I'm starting at 0 and I add 2, I end up with 2. To get back to that starting point, which was 0, I subtract 2. So I've added 2 and I've subtracted 2 to get back. Okay, times and division, same sort of thing. If I go 4 times 2, that equals 8. To get back from 8 back to 4, I need to divide by 2. So I've times by 2 to get to 8, divided by 2 to get back. That's just the main thing of what opposite means. Okay, so add, subtract, multiply, or divide the same number to both sides of the equation. So that's what we're doing. We're performing opposite operations using add, subtract, multiply, and divide, but we need to make sure we do it to both sides of the equation. We can think of an equation like a balancing beam. We need to make sure it stays even, and that's done by doing the same thing to both sides. Now, some linear equations look a little bit harder than others, and what we need to do with those is we just solve the 2 or 3 step equations by repeating the steps as required. So it might take a little bit longer to do one. Okay, looking at our first example, we have 3x plus 5 equals 14. Okay, looking at that on a balance bar, so you can sort of see what it's like. So we have 3x plus 5, it equals 14. So whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other to keep it even. Now looking at this, first thing we want to do is get the x by itself on one side. So we're going to try and get it on the left hand side as it's already there. So we need to get rid of that 5 and the 3. So 5 is the constant, 3 is the coefficient of x. Now we always start with the number that's not attached to the x, or the variable, whichever letter it may be. So when I say attached, I mean by a multiplication sign or a division sign. So that one is 3 times x. So we're going to leave the 3 alone to start with. We're going to get rid of the constant, which is plus 5. So the opposite of adding 5 is subtracting 5, because I want it to go back to 0. So if I subtract 5 to both sides, I end up with 3x plus 5 minus 5 equals 14 minus 5. So simplifying that, I end up with 3x equals 9. Looking at that on the balance beam, it is still balanced because I have subtracted 5 from both sides. So it hasn't changed. Okay, now I have 3x equals 9. Okay, we can all go 3 times 3 equals 9, x must equal 3, but we still need to know the process. So it means 3 times x, the opposite of multiplying something is dividing. So what we're going to do is divide both sides by 3, so that ends up becoming 1x. So if I do that, 3x divided by 3 equals 9 divided by 3. The 3's cancel out and I end up with 1x, and we'll just write x equals 9 divided by 3 is 3. So we end up with x equals 3. Back on our balance beam, because I've done the same things to both sides, my balance is still perfect, so x equals 3. Now, you might be wondering why we have to go through all those steps when you could have just said, oh, x equals 3 straight away. The reason is, you need to know the process, because not all the questions are going to be given are going to be nice, easy ones like that. You'll have fractions, improper fractions, mixed numbers, decimals, and it gets really hard. So you need to know the process, and better to learn the process on an easier question than a very difficult one. Okay, when you get to the end of these questions, one thing you should always do is check your answer. You shouldn't finish a question without mentally checking that answer and seeing if it's correct. So this one here, we have 3 times 3, because we're substituting x equals 3 for the x. So 3 times 3 is 9 plus 5 equals 14. Okay, that one's right. And that is all you have to do, or you can jot it down in your book. But at the very minimum, you should be mentally checking your solution. Okay, let's pause there for a moment and get that down in your book, please. Okay, when you're ready, press play and we'll look at another example. Okay, example 2. We're going to solve x over 4 minus 3 equals 7. Firstly, let's go back to the verb solve. What does that mean? That means you want to find a solution for x. So what can x equal? And in these linear equations, x will only equal one thing. Later on, we'll be looking at ones where x may equal 2 different numbers, and it might even be an infinite set of solutions for x. But at the moment, we just want one answer for it, so one solution. Okay, so x divided by 4 minus 3 equals 7. So we want to get rid of that 3 first because it's not attached to the x. So x divided by 4, the 4 is attached. We can think of it as x divided by 4, or we can think of it as 1/4 times x minus 3. So first thing, we'll get rid of the minus 3. That is the coefficient. That is the constant. So the opposite of minusing 3 is adding 3. So let's add 3 to both sides. So we have x over 4 minus 3 plus 3 equals 7 plus 3. That will then become x over 4 equals 10. But we're going to have a look at a different sort of working out that you might be interested, rather than writing it how I've written it there. So looking at this one, I've got x over 4 minus 3 equals 7. We're going to do the same thing, just setting out a little bit different. People tend to like this way better. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So it is easier when you do it in a different colour, but you don't necessarily have to. So I put plus 3 down the bottom. So same thing, it's just, it saves a whole line of working out because I just pop that onto the very first of the question. Okay, looking at that, I end up with x over 4 equals 10. So I'm going x over 4 minus 3 plus 3, so I'm still reading it as if I'd written it longhand. Okay, x divided by 4 equals 10. Because x divided by 4, we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to multiply each side by 4. So multiply the first side, so we end up with 4x over 4. Multiply the other side, we're going to have 10 times 4. The 4's cancel out with the 4x over 4, and we end up with x equals 40. Okay, again, we should just check our answer. So 40 divided by 4, so I've just substituted the 40 in for x, is 10 minus 3, which equals 7. Okay, that answer is correct. I'd like you to pause now. Write that down, please. When you finish, press play, and we'll look at another example. Okay, example 3. 5 minus 2x equals 12. Okay, again, we need to get rid of the constant first. So leave the minus 2x. We're going to subtract 5 from both sides because that is a positive 5. The opposite of adding 5 is subtracting 5. So we're going with the quick notation now. So we end up with 5 minus 5 minus 2x equals 12 minus 5. So 5 minus 5 equals 0, leaves you with minus 2x. 12 minus 5 leaves you with 7. Okay, so we have minus 2x equals 7. So we need to get rid of that minus 2x, and it means minus 2x times x. So we're going to perform the opposite operation and use division. So minus 2x divided by minus 2 equals 7 divided by minus 2. Remembering to do the same thing to both sides. Okay, a negative divided by a negative becomes a positive, so we end up with positive 1x equals negative 7 over 2, or you can write negative 3.5. Okay, again, we should check our answer. So, let's have a look at it. If we go 5 minus 2 times negative 3.5. So minus 2 times negative 3.5 becomes positive. So 3.5 doubled is 7. So 5 plus 7 equals 12. Okay, that one's correct. I'd like you to pause the video there and write that one down, please. When you're ready, press play and we'll do another example. Okay, example 4, solve. 2x divided by 3 plus 5 equals 7. Okay, we might have a few extra steps here, but we'll just take it one step at a time. So we want the number that is not attached to the x. So the 2 is 2 times x, and then you've got 3, 2x divided by 3. Or we can think of it as 2/3 times x plus 5 equals 7. But we're going to get rid of the 5 first. So the opposite of adding 5 is subtracting 5. So we end up with 2x over 3 plus 5 minus 5 equals 7 minus 5. Okay, 2x over 3, the plus 5 and minus 5 go to 0, equals 7 minus 5 equals 2. So we have 2/3 x equals 2. Okay, so next step, we're going to get rid of that 3 by timesing by 3 on both sides, because the opposite of dividing is timesing. So the 3's will cancel out, and I'll simply have 2x equals 6. Then what I'm going to do is I need to get rid of that 2 because it's 2 times x. I'm going to divide by 2. So 2x divided by 2 equals 6 divided by 2. The 2's cancel out and I end up with x equals 3. Now there was another way we could have done that. When we're up at 2/3 x equals 2, instead of timesing by 3 and then dividing by 2, we could have simply, because it means 2/3 times x, we could have actually just went 2 divided by 2/3. But this way is a little bit cleaner and a bit easier to understand. Okay, first step, you need to make sure you check your answers correct. So let's mentally check it. So substituting x equals 3 for x, so I have 2 times 3 is 6, 6 divided by 3 is 2, 2 plus 5 equals 7. Okay, we've done that one right. Okay, I'd like you to pause and write that one down, please. When you're ready, press play and move on to the next example. Okay, we have 2x plus 4 all divided by 9 equals 2. So looking at this one here, we need to think of order of operations because I want a number that's not attached to the x, get rid of that one first, which, okay, we can say plus 4. It doesn't appear to be attached to the x, but really this means 2x over 9 plus 4 over 9. We need to be careful about that 9, okay? We can't just subtract 4. Order of operations, that fraction bar means that 9 needs to go first. Okay, so the opposite of dividing by 9, because I want to get rid of that, is timesing by 9. So I'm going to times both sides by 9. The 9's cancel out on the left-hand side, and I end up with just 2x plus 4 equals 2 times 9 is 18. Now I just have a straight plane forward two-step equation. So I'm going to get rid of the plus 4 first by subtracting 4 to both sides. I end up with 2x equals 14. The 4's on the left-hand side, they cancel out. 4 minus 4 equals 0. 18 minus 4 equals 14. So I have 2x equals 14. Opposite of timesing by 2 is dividing by 2, so I'll divide both sides by 2. And I end up with x equals 7. Okay, let's mentally check our answer again. So 2 times 7 is 14. 14 plus 4 is 18. 18 divided by 9 equals 2. Okay, we've got that one right. Okay, I'd like you to pause there, please, and write that one in your book. Okay, that's the end for today. I'd like you to note any problems that you had and ask in class. Thank you.